Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer where we're literally taking the red pill to uncover the psychological realities of trading beyond the matrix. If you've ever felt like the financial markets are just this incredibly chaotic, completely rigged game, I promise you, you're definitely not alone. But the truth about why most people actually fail, well, it might be a lot closer to home than you think. Today we're going to break down some truly game-changing insights from Dr. Van K. Tharp's work, and we'll show you how to completely transform your whole approach.
So, right off the bat, I want to ask you something absolutely crucial. Are you trading the market, or are you just trading your own beliefs? It's the core question, the ultimate dividing line that separates chaotic amateurs from disciplined professionals. See, most of us think we're just reacting to pure objective data flashing on a screen. But in reality, we're actually just reacting to our own internal psychological programming.
Which brings us to Section 1, the Trader's Matrix. Okay, so let's look at the before scenario for almost every beginner out there. It is, frankly, absolute chaos. Traders are just frantic. They're blindly following TV experts, they're shelling out cash for these random newsletter tips, and obsessively hunting for some kind of magic indicator. Basically, they're searching for what the source material calls the Holy Grail system. You know, that mythical, perfect, never-failing entry signal. But in the end, this whole approach just leaves them highly stressed out and totally devoid of any genuine, sustainable strategy.
And the human cost of all that chaos. It's devastating. Back in the year 2000, while chasing random tips without any solid foundation, one trader watched their personal portfolio absolutely plunge, right alongside the S&P 500's massive 40% drop. And listen, that 40% wasn't just some boring statistic on a page. It was a devastating wake-up call. It was the literal crushing pain of watching hard-earned money just evaporate, entirely because of a lack of preparation.
That extremely painful experience leads us to a harsh but completely undeniable truth. When you have no rules, every single trade is a mistake. The source text makes this brilliant comparison. It equates trading with no preparation to an untrained surgeon performing operations. I mean, you wouldn't trust a doctor who just watched a bunch of medical dramas on TV to operate on you, right? No way. So why on earth would anyone trust their entire life savings to an impulsive gut feeling? If you don't have a strict written rule for taking an action, it's a mistake, even if you somehow happen to make money on that specific trade by sheer luck.
And that leads into Section 2, taking the red pill.
So, in his groundbreaking book, Trading Beyond the Matrix, Dr. Van K. Tharp introduces this incredibly fascinating concept. He suggests that the market is actually very much like the Matrix from the famous movie. We are all programmed. Seriously, we're programmed by our upbringing, by society, by our deepest fears to respond automatically to stimuli in ways that practically guarantee we're going to lose our money to the professionals.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Taking that metaphorical red pill means finally waking up. It means making the incredibly brave choice to step back and critically examine your own deepest and frankly often non-useful beliefs about money, the markets, and even your own self-worth.
I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but here's the thing. We don't actually trade the markets. The market itself is an illusion. It's really just millions of anonymous buy and sell orders executing every single second. And because our human brains can't truly conceptualize all of that raw data, we invent a reality. We use concepts like price candles, moving averages, and trend lines. We aren't trading reality out there. We're literally just trading our beliefs about those concepts.
Let's unpack that more in Section 3. Psychology is everything.
Dr. Tharp comes to this incredible, bold conclusion. Trading success is actually 100% psychology. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, wait a minute, what about building my system? What about the actual math of position sizing? Well, choosing to develop a system, having the iron discipline to actually stick to it during a brutal losing streak, and deciding exactly how much capital you're going to risk on a given trade, those are entirely psychological choices driven completely by your emotional state.
To prove this point, Dr. Tharp uses this brilliant exercise called the marble game. It's a simulation where different colored marbles are randomly pulled from a bag, and they represent the exact same sequence of winning and losing trades for every single person in the room. Yet at the end of the simulation, every player has drastically different financial returns. Some people go totally bankrupt, while others get rich. Why? Because of position sizing. How much they chose to risk on each pull of a marble was dictated entirely by their individual psychology. It's the exact same trades, but entirely different financial outcomes. Wild, right?
So how do we fix this? Section 4, Developing Tharp Think.
To prevent these kind of catastrophic mistakes, Tharp outlines what he calls the 12 tasks of trading. And notice something really important here. Step 1 isn't looking at a stock chart. Step 1 is self-analysis. You literally have to sit down and determine if you are mentally and emotionally okay to even trade that day. Are you angry about something? Sick? Distracted? If so, you have to step away. Only then do you move on to mental rehearsal, visualizing yourself preventing mistakes, then stalking your entry point, and finally, execution. And that execution requires total, absolute commitment and zero second guessing.
But here's the catch. Building a system that actually allows you to execute flawlessly like that requires profound self-knowledge. You really must know your values, your strengths, your weaknesses, your core beliefs, and what your true trading edges are. A successful trading system isn't just some generic mathematical formula you can go buy off the internet. It has to fit your specific psychology perfectly. Because if a system doesn't align with your true personality, you know what happens? You will eventually self-sabotage and break your own rules.
Now, you've probably heard of Malcolm Gladwell's famous rule, right? The idea that it takes 10,000 hours to achieve mastery in any field. Well, here is a massive warning label for traders. It must be 10,000 hours of efficient practice. If you just go out and put in 10,000 hours grounded in non-useful beliefs and poor psychology, you aren't achieving mastery at all. You're actually just getting really good at repeating incredibly expensive mistakes. Efficient practice means operating from a completely transformed, highly disciplined mindset.
Which brings us to the final stage. Section 5, the awakened trader.
Just look at the profound difference in this transformation. The beginner is highly stressed out, totally haphazard, and blindly relying on outside experts to tell them what to do. But the awakened trader, they are peaceful. They are statistically oriented, deeply disciplined, and they execute flawlessly from their own detailed, personalized business handbook. It is literally the profound difference between being a sweaty, anxious gambler at a casino and operating as the casino itself.
Everything has the meaning you give it. Think about that. When a stock goes down and you take a financial loss, it is not a reflection of your self-worth. It doesn't mean the universe hates you or that you're some kind of failure. To the awakened trader, a loss is totally stripped of all that heavy emotional baggage. It's just a statistical reality. It is just one entirely normal trade out of thousands in a system that has an overall positive expectancy.
And that brings us to our final, somewhat provocative thought to leave you with today. What meaning do you give to a loss? And maybe more importantly, can you sit in front of the screen and watch the market purely for what it is, without any of that internal chatter, judgment, or emotional projection? Silencing that inner crowd and mastering your own mind isn't just nice spiritual advice, it is the absolute ultimate financial strategy. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember, the most important market you will ever trade is the one inside your own head.